What's going on, y'all? This is Mike Brown, and I wanted to welcome y'all to this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. Today, I had the pleasure of speaking to author and photographer Kamal X. He just released his latest book, The Black Astronaut, which is available now everywhere. And actually, I got to speak to him the day after the release, so it was really cool to share space with him and hear his journey and what inspired him to create this book. So thank you guys for tuning in and enjoy the show. Yo, what up? This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Today, I have a special guest in the building. You just released a book yesterday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Self-taught photographer, correct?
Yep.
That's really dope. Everybody, welcome Kamal X to the show. How you
Oh,
doing today,
man. I'm really good, man. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this episode, especially like you said, this is the day after the book release. So I marked this little special as like the day after, like that's going to be a dope, experience to share with someone or just talk about or just because, podcasts are an amazing experience, man. They're therapy, they're entertainment, they're guidance, they're everything in one. So I'm happy to be here and to be with your listeners, and I appreciate you very much for having me.
Of course, man. I appreciate you being here. How are you feeling today? I mean, like I said, you released the book yesterday. And this is your second book, correct?
Yeah, this is my second book, Black Astronaut. The first one was self-published, which had a lot to do with me traveling the world for like 5 years, called The Quest Supreme. I think you might really connect with the nomad vibes. But this one's my second book, called Black Astronaut. The Stars Belong to the People, which dives into everything that happened in America from 2020 to about the beginning of 2023.
Yeah.
So everything from George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, the presidential situation, anti-vax, pro-vax, the women's rights. So basically everything that we saw online and on our phones for the past 3 years, I was out documenting and just putting myself in the fire, especially in the beginning when we didn't have a vaccine. We didn't know what COVID was, if you would, if you get sick and unfortunately, get in a bad situation or die from it. So I just was like out there mainly because I just feel like I owed it to the ancestors. I owed it to George Floyd, all the people that have been affected by injustice. And there seems to be a lack of, what's the word I'm using? Representation when it comes to black and brown photographers and in terms of spaces of civil rights and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Because I felt a lot of the photos were very sensational. Like it didn't seem like you understood what you were taking pictures of. It was like someone taking a picture of something outside of themselves. I didn't see the empathy and compassion. So that also inspired me to go like, yo, I need to make sure we all are doing our part to make sure this story is told correctly in the future, so they don't try to put us in a box, so to speak.
That's really dope, man. What made you choose photography as your medium to creating?
I think it just kind of always was there, but I didn't realize it. Like, I always say like there's these little signs of our gifts or talents are just always around us. We just think it's normal. We just do them and we don't realize that if we kind of put some real time and thought and energy to something, you can maximize a simple talent into like a real skill. So for me, I think going to the movies at a young age, that was like one of the biggest things I did with my stepdad. That was like the huge, whoa, and I loved it too. So, movies was a big thing. In high school and a little bit of college, I was the friend that would always take pictures with the disposable camera. I would have the coffee tables with all the pictures, the clear coffee tables with all the pictures collaged of the friends under it. Like I was that person. And I even was in the school newspaper, which is crazy. If you knew me, if you knew me back in the day, you would go, Kamal was in a newspaper. I forgot I was in a newspaper. So I guess there was just something in me in terms of documentation, in terms of like press. I don't know, but it seemed like it's always kind of been in me, the expression in terms of media, camera, things of that nature. And so I think I got to a point where I wasn't feeling what I was doing was my purpose. Like I was in real estate, and at a certain point I was a life coach and I was a personal trainer. So I was a little spread I was a little all over the place, but that kind of is how my personality is.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't clicking. I'm like, this something ain't right. Like I just don't feel. And like thinking of the title of your podcast, Art of Letting Go, I let go of that and went into a different unknown. And I didn't know where I was going to go. I just kind of was like going to figure me out. And I didn't want to be of service to anyone. I just wanted to be on my own journey. And that's where Quest Supreme came from. That book is me traveling the world trying to find healing, peace, getting it together. And within that time, I picked up a camera. So as I was developing myself and finding my new truth, dealing with grief, dealing with confusion, not necessarily identity, but just trying to reform my identity more so.
Yeah.
The camera was right there with me. And I think that's a big reason why I'm where I am today, because I have a certain emotional connection to that tool as I used it as a way of kind of finding myself.
That's really dope, man, and it's inspiring. And I'm looking forward to reading the book because since I've been on my journey, I bought a camera, and as I've been traveling, just been taking pictures and really just using those pictures as reflection points of just seeing like
Mm,
where I've been, and I've even been inspired to like create that book that my younger self needed to see, that there was more in the world. Because I with my parents, I traveled before, but my parents had the same vacations that they like to relax. They
yeah,
want to
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
to Cancun or something and relax, just
Mm,
somewhere where it's not doing too much. But for myself, I've always been an explorer. So like being out in the world and
mm,
seeing all these things that I didn't know existed is like, man, I needed something that was cool enough to speak to me at that age. And it's like, why not create it myself? But
mm,
I wanted to ask you, because I read through your bio that you had quit everything and
mm.
you chose to travel the world. Like, how did you come to that decision? And
Uh,
was there any fear in doing that?
so like I was saying earlier, like I kind of hinted towards it. So I said I was dealing with grief. So
Yeah,
unfortunately, 10 years ago, I lost my best friend to colon cancer. And at that time, this is 26, 27 years old. So we didn't really understand, like when he told us, hey, I like when he was battling cancer, like for a couple years, our perspective was very like positive. Like he's gonna be okay. He's gonna
yeah,
pull through. Which I think you should have that. But
of
we
course.
also didn't understand like what stage 3 meant. Like what does that mean? How many stages are there? Like at that age it's so unusual to hear of someone passing away from that type of cancer and just dealing with it in the first place. So a lot of it was like when he actually transitioned, I remember it was like a shock. Like it was like, what? I don't understand. Like what, how did this happen? Like what went wrong, or did anything go wrong, or was this something that we should have been preparing for? A lot of questions happen, and I'm saying that from a more logical space now, but emotionally when you're in it, you're not really even thinking about you're just trying to figure out what you're feeling and trying to find a way. And one thing I said I watched a lot of movies growing up, and that's helped me a lot. Like I just find movies are like my books. And I found myself thinking about movies of like grief and what did they do? Like you have these ideas in your mind of like, oh, someone lost someone really close to them or their best friend, and you kind of look at those things like, now I'm in it and it's real life. Like, what do I grab onto to make sense of all this? And I remember nothing made any sense, like nothing could tell me what to do. And I think actually Keanu Reeves had a story that made a lot of sense that connected with me because he's lost a lot of people close to him and continues to be a light, continues to be a good person and find his peace. And one thing he said about grief is like it never goes away, it just changes form. Like it doesn't go, you don't become cured of it. It just has its levels and it comes up and it has its ups and downs. You just have to learn to live with it. And so I think around that time I said, well, I'm going to have to move forward. I can't stay here, and I knew like I couldn't be of service to anyone. So that's when I just dropped everything. And one thing that he loved, his name's Drew. One of the things he loved about me was my freedom. Like he looked at me like, because at that point I lived in Atlanta, I lived in LA, and we're from Newark, New Jersey. And he was like, yo, this is crazy. Like you're off the chain. And he was claustrophobic. So like for
Wow.
him, even getting on a plane was like a big deal. So for me to be, us to be best friends and me to be traveling and moving around, he just looked at that like as the most, like the opposite of everything that he would be comfortable doing. And I felt like I wanted to do something to kind of bring us closer now that he was is in a different realm. Like, what can I do to make him proud of me? What's something that can be just me and him, and it can hopefully kind of bring me some peace. So I decided to travel. And at that point, I never like I didn't know what backpacking was. Like, I didn't know, like, traveling to Southeast Asia. That was the first trip. I didn't know how to do that. I had to get like a tour group. Everyone obviously looked at me like I was crazy. I remember I came out there, I had Jordans, I had all these big jeans, and like I didn't have clothes for travel, right? So like when I,
Right.
I share I share a quick story. So when I arrived to Bangkok, the first trip, this is the beginning of this big journey that ended up being 5 years in a book. I didn't expect that to happen. But I get there and these guys are in my, like, they're kind of like a roommate situation, share room. And they look at my bag, they're like, bro, you got a lot of stuff. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, that's a lot of stuff. This is like, empty your bag. So I emptied it and it was like packed to the brim. I remember it was like a 60-liter or 45-liter backpack, a yellow North Face. And they said, bro, you got a lot of shit you don't need. And I said, how much should I let go? They said, honestly, about 70% of it.
Wow.
And I remember I was like, well, you're doing something new. You're trying to do this whole new journey. They look like OGs compared to you. Are you going to listen to them, or are you going to stay stuck in your head? And I literally gave away I guess the staff just took all the clothes and sneakers and stuff. And the biggest thing they said is like, how are you going to have space for new things if you bring all this stuff with you? And that was like the biggest moment for me. And I didn't realize for my life, because that's the way I kind of treat everything now, the art of letting go, right? Like, I
Yeah.
had to let go of all that baggage, all that extra clutter to make space for something new. And I feel like that's a great microcosm of like me finding the camera, dropping everything to just be this. And that's where we are today. And Black Astronaut is dedicated to him,
Man.
So yeah, it's been a journey.
That's really dope, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I really do. That's inspiring because, like I said, being on this journey for myself and navigating and trying to figure it out, clarity comes as I move through it. But I really do appreciate you sharing that because I've been feeling like my shit has been heavy lately as well. What
It's
advice would you give to anybody that is choosing to take on that journey of just like, backpacking or just being a nomad or anything like that?
start where you can, but don't be afraid of wherever that takes you. Like,
Yeah.
because it's a co-created. It's like you're not going to have all the answers, and that's the one thing I love about travel, because you got to be on your toes. You got to figure stuff out in the moment. Ain't nobody coming to save you. And depending on how your mind is set up or what you're looking for me, that's like perfect. That's like, I like that kind of energy. It makes me feel alive. It normally brings me to new places to meet new people. Um, Socializing is important, especially when it's a real thing, like something that I can really, not small talk, but like, okay, we're on a journey, we're in the middle of India, we're, just crazy things that kind of will create these bonds with people that you just never know where that can go, even
Yeah.
if it's just something for yourself. So I would say, and I'm saying India, and that's like, that can be extreme to certain people. So it's like, but maybe that trip to Arizona, maybe that trip to Toronto, or there's so many ways to experience this world and yourself. And one thing here's one, I think you'll appreciate this: do it alone. Travel alone. And I know for a lot of people that can be a daunting thing. Don't go nowhere that's unsafe if you have issues with that, or you're
Right.
not feeling comfortable. But you'll be surprised what happens when you can create your own itinerary. You don't have to worry about like bouncing ideas off. Where do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? And then you're doing stuff you don't really want to do. And if this travel thing is about finding yourself, it's like, yeah, the question is, well, what do you want to do? There's no pressure. There's nothing but you and the world in front of you. So I think traveling by yourself and just being okay with doing things in a way that doesn't have to fit the list of, oh, I went here, I saw this, I did that, but just more so being honest about what you want and
Yeah.
what you're looking for. I have a question for you. I hope this don't messes up your
No, it's perfect.
okay, because you said some things that's dope to me. So you're saying like you've been taking pictures. So how has that been going? And have you seen the movie Into the Wild?
I have not seen the movie Into the Wild. It's been going well. I would say maybe in like the last 5 years, I kind of go in and out of like wanting to take pictures using different cameras, sometimes using
Mhm.
disposable. Before I went on my trip, I had bought it was an old like point and shoot film camera, and
Film, that's what's up.
I appreciate
That's what's
that.
up. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and it was cool, but a lot of the photos came out of focus, and I learned that the camera had this autofocus on it. So
Mm.
some of them didn't come out that great. And then being
Mhm.
out here in New York, I lost the camera on the train.
Man.
So I bought another camera. I bought this Pentax camera. It's pretty cool. And
Is it a point and shoot or like a 35? Do you know what
no,
kind it
this,
is?
this one's 35. I
Uh,
think it's a Program Plus, I think it's called.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
it came with two lenses, stuff like that. And I don't know, man. Sometimes I see things and, I just get inspired to shoot. Like, you know, I was looking at, just storytelling. I feel like I'm always in the mindset of storytelling, whether it's podcasting or music or whatever my medium is that I choose to create in at the time. And
Mhm.
sometimes I feel like through photos it can tell more of a story than, me just telling somebody, hey, I went here and did this.
Yeah, yeah, that's I relate to that. That's honestly a big reason why I began in the first place. Like people were like, I was traveling all these beautiful places and I was taking, pictures with my iPhone and all this, and it wasn't
Yeah,
of the caliber of like a photographer or a lot of these travel bloggers and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, like, and that like kind of similar to what you're saying. It just similar vibes. And I asked that question, and also please watch Into the Wild. Please,
okay,
Sean
yeah, I'm gonna
Penn
check it
directed
out.
it. I think that's going. I'm not going to promise you anything, but I think you're going to vibe with it a lot. That movie shifted my life in a lot of ways, and people that are often freedom people, travel people, a lot of people connect with that movie, but generally, a lot of people that are more so in, like you and I think they really appreciate that movie. But one thing I've noticed in my travels also is like when it comes to this medium of photography or just storytelling, I find those that have experiences often are the better artists in that field.
Yeah,
Because you're seeing so much of life, and it's like there's a curiosity there. And I think the people that have like higher levels of curiosity and are willing to kind of take chances and walk in that place. I'm always curious to see what kind of photos they come up with, whatever they work on creatively, because I think that's like a part of the whole like purpose, or like the gift is like you need to your curiosity forces you to go places and see things, because like you said, storytelling. So
yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that you're on that vibe, man. You just never know. Just like for me, I'm on my second book, and that was not the plan. But if it's in you, it's in you.
I,
So.
I appreciate that. And honestly, like the thought of a book for me came from being in the desert. I really like going out to the
Mm,
desert and just clearing my mind.
mm-hmm.
And I thought of so many of my friends and like family members as well that just don't take opportunities to take chances on themselves. And
Mm,
I just felt like this will be my gift to them, my way of showing them like, yo, go out
mm,
here, explore the world, whatever your exploration looks like. And
mm-hmm.
just using a film camera for me makes it where you can't really tell the time of it. With a cell phone, you could tell it's
Yeah.
2020, 2023, but
Yeah. Yeah.
with a film camera, it makes me feel like a time traveler. So I really want to share it in a way that, like I said, more so kids are inspired by it. Like, I want adults to read it as well, but I really do a lot of work with kids,
Mm.
and that's my goal with what I'm doing right now.
That might be the name of your book, bro. Time Traveler. I know that's been
Yeah,
done in movies, but that's lit though. I like it in photography space.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I had a question for you because I
Hmm.
know that through your work you capture a lot of humanity. What has been the biggest thing that you've learned about humanity in, shooting your work?
I think what I've learned, and I think I've learned this from a lot of things in life, especially life coaching. When I was a life coach, that I've realized that wasn't for anyone but me. Like I used to
Yeah,
be a trainer too, and I was pretty good at that too. And even though I don't do it anymore, I'm happy that's a part of my foundation, because as I get older, I have that with me, like for me, like to know how to work out, get myself in shape, what to do, what
Yeah.
not to do in the gym. Same thing with life coaching. Like I have a therapist, but still there's certain things that like from that experience I keep with me for me. So one thing I've learned is kind of like you can't create something outside of you that isn't already within you. So if you're trying to say be a documentary photographer or get like real what I'm doing, like getting raw emotions and stuff like that, you kind of have to be of that yourself because you have to create a space where people in front of you feel just as comfortable as you. And if you're uncomfortable with certain levels of emotion and vulnerability, I think it'll show. And
Yeah.
like that showing will affect the person in front of you, whether it's a photo shoot or you're actually in the field. It kind of your energy does create a space. There's been plenty of times where I've actually stopped, and I always ask people if I can take their picture. Like I become very comfortable with that. If it's
I was gonna ask you about that as well because I'm always curious. Like, do people ask? Now, I usually ask people as well, but then, sometimes there is a moment that you may want to capture, but I don't feel
yeah,
comfortable just capturing it without asking somebody.
yeah, there's it's a slippery, not slippery, but it depends on the situation. Like there's times where like I know if I ask, what I'm seeing is not going to be there no more.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of times where I know if I ask, they'll give me something that they're not giving me, like especially eye contact. Like I find when I ask them for that photo, and most times they say yes. Most more times than not, they say yes. Once they, especially if my vibe is chill, like I find the eye contact I get with the camera is way more of a moment than if I get them looking away. But if they're doing something where they don't need to be looking at me, like I'm creating a scene, then yeah, I'm gonna take that photo too. So it depends. But I think that's the lesson I've learned. It's like you have to be comfortable with what you're shooting, and I think your comfortability will affect not only what you look for, yeah, you'll recognize it when you see it too. Like if you're running from certain emotions that you're not ready to face yet, you may do the same thing when you're in a space of hundreds of people. And it's like that's the thing about that camera. It's like that's what you choose to see. You can't take pictures of everything. So all
Right.
these little moments, it's like you're really finding yourself. And a few of the OG photographers that I look up to that I follow have said this. It's like, don't just show me a picture, but create a picture. And I remember when I was first beginning, I didn't understand. I was like, wait, create? How do you create it? Like, it's like, no, he was like, there's photographers that take pictures and there's
Mm-hmm.
photographers that create pictures.
Yeah.
And once I learned that, it kind of goes further into what I'm saying about the comfort level and how, for me, that's what I try to go into. So it's a big part of it for sure.
It's James Woods, aka that yoga dude. Would feel free to feel free. Freedom is moving in and out without being caught up and held back by my own conditioning. My own condition. The old ways of doing things, seeing things, not letting them hold me back as I continuously move forward towards a greater for yourself. Meditation helps me take a deeper look at my conditioning, have a deeper understanding of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And not respond with anger, frustration, fear. Just looking at it for what it is and making the proper adjustments. One of the best places we can make those adjustments is from a place of calm, relaxation, and peace. Let's take a couple of breaths to get there. Softening through the body. Gently breathing through the nose. Relax the eyes. Being with every breath. Peace in the present. Release and relax. Practice intention. intentionally being in the moment, letting go, whatever no longer serves you, breathing, releasing, and as always, feeling free to feel free, and namaste. Peace.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I wanted to ask you also, how did you come up with the title of your new book?
Okay. Oh yeah, Black. I didn't explain. Okay, Black Astronaut. Because I was somewhere doing a book. I had a show in San Francisco, and someone thought I was an astronaut. I was like, hold up, wait a minute. No, I don't want you running with that. Don't think. Nah, son. But so all right. So when this thing went, so when 2020 went down, and it started for me, it really the pandemic, and then it was Ahmaud Arbery, and then George Floyd. All that I was living in Oakland, California at the time. So when COVID first hit, I was one of those people extremely afraid. Like I didn't play with that. I was extremely cautious. I was wiping down groceries. I didn't see anyone. And because I just moved to Oakland 4 months before it hit, I didn't even have social contact with anyone. I felt like I was on a distant planet, So when George Floyd happened, I decided I was ready to risk it all and go outside and take those photos. And I knew I couldn't half-ass it. I had to go all the way, be in people's faces. Like I knew it was going to be, I couldn't have a zoom lens and be down the street. I had to be in it, in the crowds, right in front of people. So when I left out, I had so much protective gear on. I had long sleeve shirts, gloves, the visors. Like I was like going, and I just felt like, and the air just felt like it was a pollution to me at that point, And I started thinking about like an astronaut. And Kid Cudi is a big influence to me too. I love Kid Cudi. That's my guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I'm an astronaut. Like I feel like America doesn't make sense to me no more. I feel like I'm in some distant land. Everything seems like I need to be protective of myself. Nothing feels normal anymore. And I was like, I think that's like an interesting way to tell this story, because to be honest with you, I didn't want to create a book that would fit into any box.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be just another America Crisis, America Rage book, which I've seen plenty of those, and no shade on those. But I was like, I wanted to be individualistic in my own way and put my own spin on it. And then when I started thinking about the terms of when you start thinking about astronomy and stuff like that, like the Big Bang Theory, for example, and I was like, wow, like what if I did a chapter called The Big Bang Theory, and that had to do with George Floyd when everything erupted outside, and then I did another chapter called Gravity that goes into the other side of that rage, into the pain and the grief that we really were feeling. It's like the feeling under the rage, you know what I mean? I'm like, gravity, like bring you back to earth, like bring you back to yourself. And I was like, yo, this is something. So that's a big reason for the inspiration for the title. And it seems to be connecting with people. People seem to like it. So
that's
I'm
really
with
dope.
it. Yeah.
That's really dope. How do you overcome obstacles? I guess in the present, 'cause I'm sure you probably experienced and dealt with it many ways, but in the present, how do you overcome obstacles?
I would say it kind of goes into, because I was going to say something about the Black Astronaut title. It kind of goes right into that. So there was a point, like I said, I was trying to be different or just be myself really, and just not fit into any boxes. And I remember when I came up with the concept Black Astronaut, when I was writing a proposal, and I would like ask a couple people what they thought about it. A lot of people look at me, not everybody, but a good amount of people was like, I don't know, that's just a little bit too abstract, a little bit too, I don't know. And even people that were in the industry, like there's an OG that's like one of the greatest, I'm not going to say who he is, but one of the greatest photographers ever. Literally, I don't even know. I was surprised I was even talking with him so much. Like
Wow.
it's insane. Like he's given me so much game. But he said something, and he was like, I don't know about that title though. I love what you got in this book, but the title, I think it's gonna throw people off. And at that point, he didn't know I already got like a signed contract with a publisher. So he's like, I don't think publishers are gonna run. And I was like, no, I'm signed. He's like, oh, okay. So it's just like, so I think there has to deal with this level of, when it comes to making decisions and overcoming obstacles, I think it's about confidence in yourself and like really like owning your testimony. Like don't forget, like when you do hard work at something, like you really take your time, you put your blood, sweat, and tears or something, you in your dark room, so to speak, you know what I mean, developing. People don't understand what you're doing. You got to take a break from social media, so break from social life to
Yeah.
get you together, you know. And it's not just the reaction of life, like bad things or tough things are happening, so you got to figure it out, but more so like you're putting yourself in a fire because you're trying to figure out how to do something that's bigger than you. And I think once you kind of like give yourself to that, which is a big part of the building of confidence, ain't nothing nobody gonna tell you when you get to those moments of like fight or flight, like, or whatever that word, or whatever they you know, like either you stand up for the
Mm-hmm.
moment or you kind of cower. And I'm not saying that, you know, we're all human, so there's grace in that. Sometimes you take a step backwards to go forwards, but in this art game and life game, I just found out, especially you got people doing like, what's that thing that had like a couple years ago where someone sold a banana with a damn piece of
Yeah.
tape on it for that?
At Art
Like,
Basel, yeah.
yeah, like, and sold that for how much money? And then you telling me that, and you got something to say. These some people are just throwing ideas out there. It seemed like it's out there behind, and I
Yeah.
think it really comes from just a certain level of confidence. Something
Yeah.
happens when you have confidence in your work, but the thing is getting confident in your work, and that's the part you got to do the work to get to that point. So I think it has to do with doing the work and like really proving to yourself who you are. And then when you get into this world, whether people like it or not, you like, no, I like it. I care
Right.
about it. It's what
Yeah.
I am. You can't take that from me. This book didn't get published, or the sales don't go where it's supposed to go. It's still a success to me because I love what I created. You know, and I think that's kind of been like a big piece of learning lessons for me, like to find peace, because when you're living for everybody else, and it's nice when you get other people to understand what you're doing and people to care about, to fit into your vision, but sometimes that can also hold you back from you because people are expecting you to be something, like play a part that they've kind of bestowed on you, and maybe, you know, maybe that's not who you are anymore. Maybe you want to pivot and make a change in life. Maybe you have some opinions people don't really understand. Like, I remember there's one part in the book, because I give everyone a voice, you know. So when I kind of documented the anti-vax movement, which is a lot of Trump stuff, a lot of
Yeah.
things that you would look at outside looking in, like, come on, I don't know if you should go there, you know, like you're a black photographer, I don't know, you know. And I'm just like, and I get that too. I understand. I was thinking the same thing, but at the same time, like, it's about the story for me, and I'm willing to
Yeah.
do what I need to do. And I've seen people get uncomfortable with that chapter. And I'm like, why are you so like, you know, like, it's like it needs to be one kind of book. It's like, that's not how art works,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? You know what I mean? So like, again, just being confident in yourself and being okay with your voice. And if you like it, you onto something. For real. Yeah.
Man, I feel that for sure. After you finish listening to this episode, make sure you take a minute in whatever streaming service you are listening to listen to my latest music project called Desert Thoughts. There's 2 versions of it. One is on SoundCloud, one is on all streaming services, featuring Yanni Blue, Eddie Wayne, DDM, and so much more. You guys will really enjoy it. It's like an inspirational piece that I needed some motivation while I was in the desert, so I wanted to share that with y'all. So take a listen to some of my deepest inner thoughts that I experienced while being in the desert on this nomadic journey. It's available now. Check it out. So I was going to ask you, because I did listen to the last episode you recorded of the Quest Supreme. Does that mean that there's a Black Astronaut podcast coming?
Oh yeah, there will be. It's in the works. Yeah, because I think that's going to be my thing. Like, I drop a book and I do like a podcast called that book. Like,
That's really dope. I like
yeah,
that.
I think thank you, because it just fits right. I know I'm not the type of person that can do this year round, so it's like it's got to be in spurts.
Yeah.
If I had an apartment, I probably would have started already, honestly. And that's a couple of reasons why, like, it's been a difficult, you know, trying to find a space that I can create. Like, I really want a good space to do video and all that stuff in it, but it's coming very soon, trust me, because the book, you know, it just came out, but it's going to be a journey to make sure, you know, as many people get you know, experience this book, buy this book. And you can't just like put it out and be like, okay, I'm done. Like, really, this is when the work starts, you know. Like,
Yeah.
getting this stuff out there. So I think a podcast would be a great way for people to just continue to have this conversation, because the book is a conversation. Like,
Yeah.
there is a lot that's in that book that I think we need to talk about, and I think it's going to create a lot of great dialogue and help us move forward.
That's what's up, man. And I had one more question for this segment. So on the back of the book, I saw you had a quote that says, "The road never lies. It only provides opportunity to see who you are and what you are truly made of." I wanted to know, what has the road shown you about yourself?
The road has shown me that freedom is who I truly am, and everything that comes my way, good, bad, and ugly, is tools to help me as I continue to move forward. Storytelling is a big part of who I am, and I believe my freedom is kind of expressed through storytelling in a lot of ways. And it gives me a certain level of peace that nothing else really gives me. Communication is like everything to me. And I think when I was younger, you looked at it like, why me? Like, this is just so difficult. Why do I have to go through all this stuff? Like, people might look at me one way and think I have these things that make me, I don't know, my life is easy or something like that. And it really isn't. Like, it's just that I know who I am and I know where I'm going, and I do the work to kind of keep my ish together, you know? And I have my down times and my moments of craziness and chaos like anybody else, but I always, you know, try to keep myself positive and keep myself looking at the bigger picture of things. And, you know, when I was younger and all that stuff was happening and it didn't make any sense, even losing my best friend, like, that's crazy. Like, that's something that you don't think that can happen to you. And, you know, but when I choose to look at things from a different lens, you know, and see a bigger picture or find peace in it anyway, I know it helps me, you know, go further. It helps me create change. It helps me be a light to other people that might be experiencing these things. You know, having this conversation with you right now, like, if I just would have sat down and not accepted my journey and did what I can do with it, I may have never met you. You know, I had this conversation right now. This book wouldn't have been created. You know, so I've learned to road. When I say the road never lies, it's like, none of this is a lie. This ain't just, oh, what, this shouldn't have happened. This what, no, it happened. But it's about what you're going to do about it. How you going to use this? Who are you really? Like, that's the test. That's the opportunity. And we all fall down, you know, like, we have our moments, but it's like, it's about getting back up and remembering and going into positive spaces and, you know, having good discernment with your energy and who and where you share it. You know what I mean? Like, everything ain't for everybody, and some stuff is just for you. Like,
That's a fact.
And own it and see where it can take you, because it's real. It's real. It's so real. Like, this moment right now. And again, I appreciate connecting with you, and I just hope that the listeners just remember, like, yo, anything is really possible. But more importantly, like, if you believe in it, it's going to happen. Like, if you truly believe in it and you do what you need to do to own that, like, and not be lazy about it, not assume anyone's coming to bestow it on you, but, like, you go, no, I want this for me. And you'll love the process. Like, when you really love something, the process to get to there, like, you'll start to love it, because, you know, especially as you start, like, seeing things happening, like, this happened, little pieces of stuff, you start going, okay, so if I do this and that, then that happens. And it's like this, that's what purpose is, man. That's what life is. That's what finding your vision or your road, you know, that's what it should feel like. It shouldn't feel like this, you know, why am I doing this? What is the point? You know what I mean? It will feel like that in it. But when you get those wins, those moments, you know what I mean? It just reminds you of just how beautiful life is and how special we all are. You know, I hope that makes sense. I think it did.
It definitely does. It does.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So our next segment is called Ask Me a Question, and that's where I give my listeners an opportunity to send in some questions. So they sent in some questions for us to answer. First one is from Dweebarama, and the question is, what are you most proud of for yourself? For me, I would say, I think last year, for me, my most proud moment was quitting my job. I was an elementary school music teacher. And, that was probably the most stable job that I've had in my adult life. Did it for 5 years, and to really trust myself and let it go, that felt powerful, and still be in this journey of, just navigating being an artist full time has been what I'm most proud of. But how about you?
That's amazing, by the way.
I
That
appreciate that.
when I was traveling, that story, because you run into a lot of that, and we all, because I think we all, like, when you in transition, like, you kind of travel, like, helps you deal with, like, the decisions you're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
like, and letting things go. It's a big part. I remember the first time I met a doctor that did that. I remember, like,
Oh,
this is like the
wow.
beginning. It's like, yeah, I was a doctor, and like, he still found a way to be successful, but then also, more importantly though, he found a way to just have peace. He's like, man, I hated it, man. I dropped. I was like, you spent all that money though, but
Yeah.
he did it, and I respected it, and I've met more and more people of that nature. I guess technically I kind of did the same thing in terms of letting it go
Yeah.
and moving forward. So I don't want to take your answer,
That's
but
all.
no, I put something different on it. I would say, I think growing up, I was very fearful of doing things that would get me in trouble. Like,
Yeah.
I had discipline, it was no joke. I grew up like military and all that. Like, it was going, if you messed up, it was going down. Like, what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was very well behaved for a kid. And I think there's strengths to that, but then there's also you don't want to step outside the lines, And I think, especially in high school, I remember, like, there was something in me that was like, nah, this ain't it, bro. Like, nothing wrong with you. It's just, this ain't who you are. Like, this isn't like igniting anything in you. And
Man.
it just felt like the worst thing in the world. School was just like hitting my head against a wall. It was like, what is this, And I'm so proud of myself for sticking with it, for continuing to find my way, and like being okay with going into my unknown and finding my own answers for myself. Because before that, I was always looking for answers from someone else, outside of me. And when things started to make some sense, I appreciate that I'm every time I make a decision or choose to go for a goal outside of what makes sense to me, like doing a book, or the next thing I want to do is, do a movie, like,
Yeah.
that sounds crazy. Another thing is like stand-up comedy. Like, I'm going to do that in New York,
Okay.
like this year, like, just because it's just a part of, I'm not trying to be like, but I just want to experience things. So that the being okay with making those choices and saying, I'm actually going to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's something I'm very proud of, because growing up, everything was so calculated and so like fitting in a box and make sure everyone's pleased and make everybody happy and, be a good boy. And it's like, nah, I'm my own man now. So just having the freedom of choice and using it is something I'm very proud of, for real.
Man, all of that is very relatable. Thank you, Duvarama, for that question. And our next question was from DSGB678. The question is, what's the most defining moment of your life so far? So I guess those are kind of the same, but different as well.
Yeah.
You want to take that one first, or you want me to take it?
I want you to go first.
So, I mean, the most defining moment of my life so far is probably moving out of LA. I moved to
wow.
LA at 23 in pursuit of being successful as a musician. And I learned so much just about life in general being out there. Like, I was there for more than music. And to be in a place that I thought I needed to be successful and leave it and still feel successful in my journey, that's probably like the biggest thing. Like, I really felt like that's probably been my biggest release up to this point, because again, that stability, that safety, that comfort, and just releasing all of that, that's what got me here right now.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, this is a tough question. I'm trying to think, because I kind of think I see it, but like, it's a little abstract. There was a moment where I was at Morgan State University in Baltimore, and I remember things got real tough out there. Like, I wasn't in a good space. Like, I was getting high every day. I was drinking. I was partying. I was like doing everything in college but going to school, basically. And I remember it got really bad at one point, and my mom, which I'm from New Jersey, I remember it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. My girlfriend, I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I had a roommate. Door goes knocking, ding, 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 ding. I'm thinking it's a girl, so I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, what is about to happen up in here, And I see my mom, and I'm like, whoa, 3 o'clock in the morning. She opens the door. She says, "Get your shit, you leaving."
Wow.
Just like that, just like that. And I remember being so, I didn't even fight back. Like, I didn't go like, yo, I'm saying, what you talking about? I knew that I needed to listen to what she was saying. I knew that it was time for me to let go of control, because with the control I did get, that new independence in college, I wasn't ready to handle it, or I wasn't handling it the right way. So going with that, and I remember we left that night, or either that night, that morning, or the day after. Like, I went back to New Jersey, packed my stuff up. I told them, hey, you want to figure out somewhere to go. I gotta go. And I think they knew I was in a bad space too. And I think that decision to let go and let my mom my mom come in there to save me, literally, like, that changed my entire projection of my life. Because I really think if I never left, because that's when I really started getting it together. That's when I really started finding myself. That's when I started reading books. That's when I started getting into movies. I saw Into the Wild maybe like 3 years after that point.
Check that out. I'm gonna definitely.
Yeah,
it
really is a powerful movie. And I'll tell it to her today. I'm gonna talk to her today. I'm like, yo, that honestly was the life defining moment that she helped me, but I also had to give in. And at that age, it's hard because you think you got it all figured out, but like, I think there was some internal wisdom in me, just was like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Just stop. Like, you got to stop. Like, listen, because this ain't working. The way you going about it ain't working. So I think that's a great question, and I feel like that's my answer.
I appreciate that. And as I listen to your answer, it's like, man, it's been so many moments in life that have defined things for me, whether it's been, like I said, moving to LA, or even, my journey of my sexuality and stuff like that. Like, it's definitely been a lot of moments. But yeah, I think that month of June and July was kind of like just really the most recent for me. But so now our last segment is called 5 Questions of Freedom, sponsored by Feel Free to Feel Free. And I have 5 questions for you, and you can answer them any way that you like. Cool. So the first question is photography or podcast?
Oh, photography. No offense. No offense to anyone out there that's a potter and all that. I'm a potter, but we go on photography all day.
Yeah. Dream location to shoot if you haven't shot it already?
Oh, Sedona. I haven't done. Arizona is probably my favorite place in the world visually. It's like heaven on earth. So I would love to be able to go out there and really do it. Like, that would be next level.
Man, I stopped through there on my trip, and it was so beautiful, and the energy just, I don't know what it was, but man, I remember crying out there when I got out there.
It's heaven on earth. I try to tell all Black people I know, go to Arizona. like especially Sedona, man. I've been like about 5 or 6 times. Like, every time I go, it's just a certain level of peace. And just looking at that, it's like art everywhere you look, man. Like, I'm happy you went. Yeah. I hope people listen and go. Yeah. Arizona, man. That's it. Especially Sedona. Yeah.
I agree with that. My third question is New York or the Bay?
Oh shit. He's starting beef, bro. Come on, man. I got ties, man. I can't be out there like that. Oh, they're gonna hate me for this. Oh man. I gotta go New York. I'm sorry. Sorry, but the Bay is that's my people, man. Like, I just came back. The love is so real. It's not that y'all are better or worse. It's just that I'm from New Jersey and New York is home. Yeah. Like, that's the only reason. It's only a home thing. I think my Bay Area people will understand that. They know I rep all day. Like, it's all day, but I'm sorry when you put it like that. But put it like this: the Bay versus anybody else besides New York, I'm with the Bay all day, like 100%, 100%, 100%.
That's what's up. My fourth question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Ooh, good question, man. it sounds so I've thought about this a lot already, so I don't want to be too cliche, but really like, yo, trust yourself, like, and find more sources, like outreach. Like that's the one beautiful thing about the focus. I grew up, I remember when I had a sidekick. And that was like the future. I remember two-way pagers. I remember having
Yeah.
a beeper. So like having all this information at our fingertips wasn't really a thing. I still remember we used to go to the library. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a part of reality like as much. So I feel like if I was younger, like, and he had a phone and the internet and all, I'm like, yo, you need to find people that you look up to that have done what you want to do, or at least somehow, cross related. Look as many interviews as possible. Start listening to Prince because he's the Godfather, right? Well, James Brown's the Godfather, but Prince is my guy. That guy,
Yeah.
that's one of my greatest inspirations is through Prince. So I would say, yeah, find people that you look up to that have paved their own way and just learn as much as you can, because you'll find out quickly there's always going to be people telling you you can't do this or you should do this. And it's like, but you ain't done it. And
Yeah.
maybe my light is a little different from you, especially if you're a creative. If you're a creative, it's a different route, yo. It's a totally different beast that if you're not of it, you just don't get it. It's because there's no signs showing you do this, do this, do that, and you're that. It's none of that. It's
Yeah.
like this fog. It's like you gotta find your way, and there's no one's coming to save you. So
Yeah.
it's a tough route. But yeah, that's what I would say, man. Find your idols, find your people, get interviews, and don't listen to people that's telling you shit. And sorry for cursing, that's telling you
You good?
stuff that, and they're not living a life that you want to aspire to.
Man,
Pay attention to the signs.
that's
Yeah.
so real. That's
Yeah.
so real.
Yeah.
And my last question is, what is one reminder that you want to give to your future self today?
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. I always use this comment, like, how, like, oh, maybe, I don't know if you know, but when you, like, I've gained weight over the years. I'm in good shape, right? But I used to be shredded, man, and like, at that point, I remember there was points like maybe 6 years ago, 7 years, I was looking bad at myself. Like, oh man, I gotta work out. I'm not where I need to be. And then you see those pictures and you're like, wait, I was looking good. Like, what was I saying back then? I was all right, So I kind of look at it that way in terms of your future self. Like, just continue to enjoy it. Like, enjoy it because this is it, and you worked hard to get to wherever you at. No matter what you expect it to be, even if it's beneath whatever that is and you don't understand it, it's still beauty in it.
Yeah.
That just keeps me at peace. Like that really is just remembering, remember. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Kamal, where can the people find you?
You can, Instagram is cool. So I am Kamal X, Kamal spelled Kamal and just an X. My website is the same, IamKamalX.com. Black Astronaut is available on Amazon, and you can look up Black Astronaut. It comes up, Black Astronaut Kamal X is there, or you can just go to my Instagram and I have all the links available to find everything that's going on. All support and love goes a long way. We really in this together. And I really believe that Black Astronaut is something that it's a part of history. And I think it's a conversation and dialogue that I think a lot of us are looking for, whether we know it or not. And it's a great opportunity. So any love and support in that realm, any questions or support, anything, I'm here. I'm very open, and I really believe that we're in this together. So I'm down to connect and be supportive in any way I can, because I just know, again, like I said earlier, like you got to sometimes reach outside of your circle to find yourself. You know what I mean? So we all in this together. So reaching out, you just never know what bonds could be created, what answers are out there, or, anything can happen,
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you for coming on the show today.
All love, man. I appreciate it too. I appreciate your light. I appreciate, learning more about your story. Like, we're very similar. So I'm going to be supporting you for sure. Making sure. And if you're in New York, we'll link up, man. Cause especially once I get settled, man. I'm actually having an event. I'm not sure when it's coming out. Well, it won't matter, but I'm having an event on the 12th in New York. So I'll send you, if you're out here, I'll send you the invite, and we're having a Black Astronaut event. Should be lit.
man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really dope.
So it's all love. I'm down to connect, and I appreciate the opportunity, and it was a great episode for sure.
Man, I appreciate it again. And thank y'all for listening. This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. If you like what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, as well as rate the podcast and leave a comment and let other people know what you think. If you would like to further support the show, we do have a Patreon where we do give some exclusive content, as well as build a community of people that are on their own journeys of letting go and healing in real time. So if you would like to join that community, please hit us up on Patreon, as well as join my newsletter. I send out a weekly newsletter of things that are inspiring me, and hopefully they inspire you as well. And also, if you are looking to have your podcast produced, hit us up. We do produce shows. We want to help other people tell stories. So reach out to us, get in touch. And thank you again for listening. This is The Art of Letting Go.